Hola mis estudiantes. Today we're going to be talking about the other past tense, also known as the imperfect or el imperfecto. So make sure that you've got your notes in front of you, and rest assured that this tense it's a little bit easier in its endings and conjugations and irregulars than the preterite tense. So here we go. Alright, so when do we use the imperfect tense? If anything that's difficult about this tense, I think its use is something that is difficult for non-native speakers. So we use the imperfect tense with actions that were ongoing, reoccurring, or incomplete in the past. Versus I studied, I danced, we use the was or used to. So, for example, I used to go to the beach in the afternoon. Iba a la playa por la tarde. So that's an example of use of the imperfect. So let's talk about our regular conjugations first. All right, so we've got our AR verbs. Notice it's aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, and aban. If you'll notice, the yo form and the el, ella, and usted conjugations are both the same. So you're going to have to use context, and you might have to use your subject pronouns a little bit more often so you know who it is that you are talking about. So for example, yo merendaba, I used to have a snack, or I was having a snack. And you might need to finish that sentence, finish that idea with either a follow-up or a second part of that sentence. But that's what that conjugation means. And if you'll know, merendar is a stem changer in the present tense. We do not have stem changers in the imperfect tense, so you don't have to worry about any stem changers at all, nor funky stems or any of that jazz. So anyway, continuing on. Our ER and IR verbs both have the same set of conjugations. If you'll notice, all of those conjugations have accents on them. So ia, ias, ia, iamos, iais, and ian. Again, same thing with that yo form and that la and usted form. They're both the same, so we're probably going to need to use our subject pronouns and or context clues to figure out who it is that we are talking about. An example, ellos conducían, they used to drive, or they were driving. All right. Of course, what would Spanish be without some irregulars? So we're going to run through those irregulars. One of our irregular verbs is ir, which we know means to go. So our conjugations verbs are iba, ibas, iba, ibamos with an accent, ibais, and iban. Our second irregular verb is ser. Era, eras, era, éramos with an accent, erais, and eran. And then our last irregular verb is ver. So veía, veías, veía, veíamos, veíais, and veían. And notice again that we've got accents on all of our conjugation of ver. So ir, to go, ser, to be, ver, to see. And as I mentioned earlier, there are no stem changers in the imperfect tense, no funky stems, no flip-flops, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Only those three irregulars. Every other verb is conjugated with our regular endings. All right. So now here's your opportunity to stop and practice. 2 steps for you. First of all, I want you to conjugate the verb into the imperfect tense. And then I want you to write its translation into English. Now that was or used to or were. I just selected one randomly, so know that yours could be the opposite of what I wrote down. But I just want you guys to start getting into the habit of, or starting to become comfortable with what those verbs mean in English. So here are your verbs. So you're going to have to hit pause, and then I want you to write the conjugation and then the translation. All right, let's check your answers. All right, so we're first going to go through our conjugations, and then we'll go through the translations. Prefería, ella veía, la clase estudiaba, Notice that if it's la clase, then we're saying it, so it's singular, estudiaba. Lots of students put estudiaban. Wrong. Ibas, recogíamos, estaban, and erais. All right. I tried my best to make sure that you could see all of them. All right. So I used to prefer. We were seeing. The class was studying. Ibas, you used to go. We were picking up. Estaban, they used to be. And erais, you all were. So those are your notes for our imperfect tense. Please make sure that if you have any questions that you jot those down. We're going to do a lot of practice with our conjugations, and then we're going to quickly jump into the difference between the preterite and the imperfect now that we've gone over those conjugations. So look forward to seeing you guys in class. Gracias!